Tomorrow, vice presidential candidate JD Vance is going to appear with that guy, that MAGA pastor who says Kamala Harris engages in witchcraft. The event is happening just 3 days before his debate against Tim Walz. We're back at the table. The occult was invoked.
I mean, I got no problem starting here. That's banana nuts. That's crazy town into the abyss, and there's no place for that. That almost seemed like an SNL caricature of people who say that they are Republicans. I don't know who on the Trump-Vance team failed at vetting before they scheduled this event, but normally in politics, since I still have a job and work on campaigns,
I like that.
we vet people that you put your candidate next to. You do a full background.
Evidently you don't.
Apparently we don't anymore. Apparently we don't. It should have been an easy check to not do that. That is a bad idea. Look at us talking about this instead of talking about the bigger point, which we should be driving into the debate.
Maybe he was vetted. Because where are we right now, right? We are taking rights from women. We are talking about making child brides again. We are talking about getting rid of no-fault divorce. We are taking all these things from women. And what is the next evolution of that? Women are witches. There's no way she could have done that debate without using witchcraft. Oh, now, like, where are we? She had an earpiece. She had, like... that a woman can't just be competent and up on her game. She has to be using some sort of voodoo on you, you know? That is terrifying.
I've heard it from Republicans
but
myself.
It feels like part of what JD Vance is saying. He's talking about how cat ladies don't have any worth, how the grandmother should probably take care of their grandchildren. We are demeaning women every day in this country, and I hope women of America are seeing this. They're saying they really don't respect you. They really don't believe in you. You're a woman at this table. You're a woman at this table. The fact that he's going to do a debate, a vice presidential candidate for the Republican Party is going to go in an event with a man who's talking about Kamala Harris being a witch at this point, feels like we're right off the edge, except it also feels right in line with where we are.
Since JD Vance is not here to defend himself, let me tell you what I think he would say. He would say, because he said this before, that I don't believe in silencing people, and I'm not going to distance myself from people based on what they say. That's what he said when it came to Tucker Carlson, who sat next to a, Hitler fan and nodded along and agreed with him and called him a genius historian. And he appeared last weekend with Tucker Carlson after all of that. So to Lee's point, I mean, maybe it's not the vetting. Maybe this is just fine.
Who they are. Look, I wouldn't advise this. There are a lot. I mean, when I worked for Dr. Carson, I worked on coalitions, particularly with evangelicals. There are a lot of incredible pastors out there with large mega churches, huge followings, more so than this particular guy. I've never even heard of him before.
He's been around for a long time.
And it would make a lot of sense for Vance to be with one of those individuals if he's trying to appeal to the evangelical community. Halloween is coming up. Maybe that's what this guy was trying to do here, but I don't know. But you know what? Look. I think Vice President Harris is a smart woman. I think most people would agree with that. She's talented. Obviously, look at where she's at. Let's debate the issues. This kind of stuff turns off a lot of people. And while I have some disagreements with some of the points you made, we as a party are having some serious issues with women. And this certainly doesn't help when you're with people who are making those types of statements.
There's a strategy behind this, y'all. And if you watch it, we report it on the news every night about all the crazy things that these folks say, and they say it all the time. And there's an old saying in Texas, if you lie long enough about having a horse, eventually somebody will buy you a saddle. That's their philosophy, is if we keep saying it enough, they're going to actually start believing us. It's just about, oh, the immigrants are coming, they're going to hurt you, or this thing is going to happen. And then you see it repeated on other news channels, not this one, and people start picking that stuff up. That's how you have an armed person showing up in a Walmart parking lot in El Paso.
I got one more for you. This one is specifically for you, Jamel. Let's play it.
Uh-oh.
They're full-on vampires. They love the taste of human flesh, and they drink human blood.
If you didn't know, that was Roseanne Barr, and she was sitting, she was with Tucker Carlson at that moment, but
But see, here's the problem, though, is that many of the points you guys brought up were dead on, for sure. The problem is that there's no political consequences for them continuing to align themselves with people. Like, if I'm somebody who is supporting this party, don't you look at this stuff and say, that's kind of dumb? Like, at some point, don't you have to say, why am I supporting this, and for what? And so there is no consequences for the.
Aaron would like a word, by the way.
I mean, I did.
I mean, you did.
Right. No, I am a Republican. I'm not
talking about you.
Well, I think there have been some consequences, right?
What's the consequences?
Well, let me say, we should have performed better in the House than the party did. We did not. There were a slate of Senate seats the Republicans should have won.
Okay.
They did not. And if Donald Trump loses the race in November, I would imagine many of us, Aaron, will probably say, holy smokes, it's because we're not doing well with women.
But the other part of it, too, is that, like, when you look at both of these camps, you know, Harris and Trump, is that she can add people to the coalition, right? He can't. So he has to dig further down into people who say things like vampires exist, or
Why about having
that
a horse?
a pastor looks into the camera and says seduction. Like he has a special message for. I was like, you got a crush on Vice President Harris? Like, what is happening
I don't know
here?
what was going
He
on.
might. She's beautiful, so he might. He might.
I was like,
He
hey
just
man,
might.
it sounds like you're projecting. And she was, in your mind, seducing you.